We are both swingers, you see. You have a tight body. Yes, I see that from your tight pants. Yes, you are tight like a tiger. Would you like a smoke and a pancake? A what? A smoke and a pancake. You know, flapjack and a cigarette? All right. Cigar and a waffle? No. Pipe and a crepe? No. Bong and a blintz?
No,
Oh, well, then there is no pleasing you.
it's not right.
Welcome back to another episode of Front Row Cinema, a movie podcast for movie lovers by movie lovers. I am your host, TJ Trimboli, and with me, as always, my co-host, playing the role of James O'Reilly tonight, Mike Myers.
What can I say? I'm very multi-talented. I can play lots of characters in the same movie.
It is a wonder, man. You are truly a generational talent. And each week we take a look at my 1,000 movies I've seen in theaters, and we see how well it's aged, along with the hype surrounding the film, its box office analysis, and legacy in the film industry. So if you enjoy this kind of content, hit that sub button on YouTube, leave that 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's how you help the channel grow. Jim, what are we watching tonight?
We're watching part 3 of the Austin Powers trilogy, Goldmember.
That's right, a 2002 comedy classic. Austin Powers in Goldmember, directed by Jay Roach, written by Mike Myers and Michael McCullers, and starring Mike Myers, Beyonce, and everybody's favorite thespian, Sir Michael Caine. Now, Jim, it is another glorious week here at Front Row Cinema because we once again have the DVD cover to bust out here. So we're pulling out our glorious log line from the back cover here, and it reads, "The hits the fan when Dr. Evil and Mini-Me escape from prison. Joining forces with the super freaky Goldmember, they kidnap Austin's father, Master Spy, Nigel Powers, in a dastardly time travel scheme to take over the world. Before you can say, shake your booty, Austin cruises to 1975 and teams up with sexy, foxy Cleopatra to stop Dr. Evil and Goldmember from their mischievous mayhem." Man, they got particularly silly in that log line.
Yeah,
I
and it
was
was
not,
goofy, but I mean, this is the movie for it, right?
yeah, you would expect it. I was unprepared though when I went in to read it that it started with the shh hits the fan. I was not prepped for that.
How many H's did they put in it?
We've got one, two, three H's and two S's with two exclamation points on the end there.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so that was a lot right there.
It's horrible. Why would they do that?
Now, Jim, as always, we love to talk about our memories with these movies. Did you see Austin Powers in theaters?
Yeah, I definitely did. I was a big fan of the first two movies, and this is definitely a movie that I would have forced my dad to take us to.
Absolutely. It's a comedy institution, especially for people our age. Was this the first one you saw in theaters, or did you see any of the other ones?
I believe I saw the second one. I don't
Ooh.
think I saw the first one in theaters. I watched that at home, but I'm pretty sure I saw the second and the third one.
Yeah, this was as always a big Rob and Zach classic. We actually saw this movie. I was on vacation in Myrtle Beach, and we took a day off from hanging out on the beach with family and everything, so that the three of us could go see this movie. Like we were there with a bunch of family, and instead of being like, "Hey, do you guys all want to go to the movies today?" We just dipped, and the three of us just went and saw a movie. Like,
That's
did
a
it,
legit move when you're on vacation, though. You just want a little distance from everybody.
we were just like, "Yo, should we ask anyone else?" We were like, "Nah, fuck that. Like, let's go with the boys."
Yeah, it's a good movie to pick, dude. It's a fun one.
Oh yeah, and this was right up our alley too. That you talk, we've talked a bunch about us being the right age at the right time for a lot of these movies from this era, and Austin Powers, especially when it comes to comedies, just felt like such the perfect movie for our age bracket because you just get so much mileage from the comedy in these movies.
Yeah, and not to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but like this is an interesting one because um it like it's another one of those movies where they're like constantly playing the hits in the sequels. Um and I never get tired of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm never like bummed out. Like I'm always just like, "Yep, please keep playing the hits actually. That sounds great."
They're just like an aging rock band that every time they come around, they're like, "We got a new album out." You're like, "No, no, just play the hits."
Yeah, and so like it's like I don't know if they made more of these, I wonder if it would have held up. But for right now, it's like it's just it seems so right in that pocket. I don't know.
Well, this franchise goes along with so many other movies where the long-awaited in gestation sequel has been sitting in the development hell for God knows how long. You always hear the rumblings of an Austin Powers 4, but I wonder if, them coming back and playing the hits would even work in today's day and age.
I don't know. I have some interesting things for at the end of the box office that I want to talk about. Why a sequel to this never ended up happening?
Interesting. All right. Well, Jim, don't keep me in any more suspense. Cue up our boys and let's dive into some juicy numbers.
Numbers, dates, and numbers, numbers, dates, array, dates, numbers. Show me the money.
All right, so we're back onto our regularly scheduled programming here. And Austin Powers comes out the weekend of July 26th through the 28th of 2002. So I forget, what was the one we did before Enough, and like how soon before this was that?
So that was Hey Arnold the movie, and I think that was the tail end of June.
Okay, yeah, so we're still in the same summer. This is
Yeah.
actually, we've discussed a lot of interesting movies over the last 2 weeks, because even Enough was in this same summer also. It came out this Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, well, we're definitely getting to the point where I'm going to the movies much more frequently. So we're getting to see really into the thick of these box office numbers with these movies, how they compare with each other.
Yeah, and I mean, this is like a comedy, right? So it's coming out the end of July. It's going to run through August, which is something similar to what we saw Rush Hour do, which I think came out like early August.
Yeah.
Um, and similarly to Rush Hour, in its opening weekend, Austin Powers in Goldmember is going to open number one with 73 and let's call it 73.1 million.
Dude, 73.1. That's wow, dude.
That's a
So,
big number, right?
dude,
Oh,
not
and I
only
forgot to mention that's against the $63 million budget.
yeah, so that's already huge. But that so 73.1 is good enough to put it in the number 4 spot behind Star Wars Episode Two's 80 million and just ahead of the Lost World Jurassic Park's 72.1. But I think the bigger thing to note here, Jim, this is the fourth highest grossing opening weekend of all time.
Yeah, which is interesting. Well, because the other ones you just mentioned were all out of all time at one point, right?
Yeah.
Like, what were those three that you said were ahead of it? Can you read those back? It was Spider Man,
So the
Harry
three ahead of
Potter,
this,
and
Spider-Man,
Jurassic Park.
Spider-Man, Harry Potter, Star Wars Episode 2.
Okay. And then Jurassic Park was in fifth.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, yeah, I mean, like, it makes sense. 73 is like one of the higher numbers we've seen. And then this is also getting into like, we talked about how Spider Man is the first $100 million movie, and then that's going to become more and more frequent for a while.
Yeah.
This is kind of like Austin Powers is beating out The Lost World due to like the movie industry is just bigger in 2002 than it was in 1997. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And
Like,
you've also got Austin Powers has, become this huge hot property in between, even just from forget like from the first movie to the second movie, but even from the second movie to the third movie, it's just gained a whole new life probably from home video and, kids like us watching these movies who now by the time Goldmember comes out is old enough to go see these movies too.
yeah, I'm curious too. Let's go into the Google machine here really fast.
Go into that Google
Uh,
machine.
let's see, because we're not going to do any of these other three movies. Let's see where the third one falls in with the first and the second one for opening weekends.
Saying, yeah. Oh yeah, because we could kind of see like how that trajectory has built from the first movie to now, from the first movie's humble beginnings to opening to 73.1, which is the biggest opening for a comedy movie ever.
Yeah, right, which beats out Rush Hour, which I think at the time, um, I think at the time Rush Hour was like one of the highest grossing ones. It had like 60 something, I think,
Uh,
right? Like high
Rush Hour,
60s.
yeah, Rush Hour 2 was the previous record holder at 67.4. So like it resoundingly beat it too.
Yeah, yeah, by like a good amount. So okay, so I have it up. Sorry that took so long.
That's fine.
Um
I can riff.
the first the first movie opened to only $9 million,
Which is like
9.5 million.
that's insane. Like that's fucking
But
insane.
yeah, I mean, like, let's for some perspective there, that was against a $16.5 million budget, and like you said, it's like this small, like no name comedy, like that for what that turns into. And by the way, another movie that probably crushed it on home video, right? Like,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
1999, The Spy Who Shagged Me opened to 54.9 million. So now you're starting to see like
Yeah.
that like
Jump.
real that real jump. And then yeah, Goldmember is the top of the list at 73 million, 73.1 million. So yeah, I mean, highest opening weekend for any Austin Powers movie. Couple of notable movies that are out that I don't know that we've talked about. Road to Perdition is in its third week, playing pretty strong in second place with 11.1 million. I mean, this is also like end of summer, early August though. You'll see some of this competition here, right?
Yeah.
So it's the third week of Road to Perdition, second week of Stuart Little 2, which is
Oh,
playing
dude.
in
Heavy
third
hitter.
place with 10.6 million. Fourth week of Men in Black 2, which is like way out there. And then it's sharing an opening weekend. The only movie that it shares an opening weekend with that I've heard of or is in the top 10 is The Country Bears. Walt Disney
Oh,
Pictures, never heard of it.
oh, dude, that's a movie.
Yeah, so like no competition here is the other part
Yeah.
of that 73 million. And it cashes in, right? Going into weekend 2, all right, now we've got some interesting competition.
Oh
It is
boy.
not going to go on a run in first place.
Ooh.
It's going to fall. It's going to have a pretty substantial drop, which I think makes sense given how big of an opening it has. It falls 57.4% to 31.1 million.
Oh boy.
It still stays in second place though, so like not a bad showing. And at this point, its total gross is 141 million. So
Like
it's
yeah, it's just printed money at this point.
yeah, they're pretty happy with how this turned out, right? Against what did we say the budget
60,
was? It
63. I mean,
was
you already beat your budget in
right.
the opening weekend. Like you're happy at this point. Anything.
Yeah, I mean this movie is gonna be like a huge success by the
Yeah.
time we're all said and done. So second place, a couple of movies come out this week that are much more notable than the ones we were saying last week. Um, in third place with 12.5 million, Master of Disguise,
Oh my God.
starring Dana Carvey, comes out this week.
Probably one of
Uh,
the first
do
movies
you
ever to be released by man.
do you remember this? Martin Lawrence had, I believe, this is like a live stand-up movie come out. Run Tell Dat.
No, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's Martin Lawrence live Run Tell Dat. I think that's like a tour that he did, like a stand-up thing.
Interesting.
That came in out this week, fourth place with 7.3 million. Still a bunch of the movies we were just talking about. My Big Fat Greek Wedding is in 16th week down here in ninth place. That's a bit of a comeback, I think. I don't think that
Jeez.
was there last week.
16 weeks.
But the big story, and I think I'm gonna stop the big story here because I have a feeling that this will be our next movie, is my
Interesting.
guess. Actually, so I'm thinking, do we want to do this way? If I come up to one that I think is the next movie in the box office, we can talk about it and you can tell me if I'm right.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to say the
Cool.
number,
Yeah.
but there's a movie that comes out this week that beats Austin Powers and Goldmember for the number one spot. I am going to guess that it's our next movie, Signs.
You would be correct, sir. That will be our next
Yes.
movie.
Yes. Okay. So we'll talk more about that later.
Okay.
And then let's just ride Austin Powers out of the top 10 here, right? So it's going to, in weekend 4, 13. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. In weekend 3, it's in fourth place with 13.1 million. Weekend 4, it's in fifth place with 8.7. Weekend 5, seventh place. It holds pretty strong here all the way through weekend 8. As its last week in the top 10, it comes in 10th, which means weekend 9, it drops out to 14th.
Dude, that's a good run though. 8 weeks in the top 10, good enough to join other hits like The Lost World Jurassic Park, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and our big winner of 2002, Spider-Man.
And then just some totals here. Domestic 213.3 million. International, not surprisingly lagging pretty far behind, 83.6 million. And then that brings it to a worldwide total of 200 and let's just call it 297 million even.
It's interesting though that the international didn't top over 100 because since this is pretty much like a spoof of James Bond, like you would think it would have more worldwide appeal.
I don't know. I think that this is the kind of movie that does well only in America. Or like I would expect it to do a lot better in America. But
Which
that's just totally made up. I don't know.
I mean, clearly that was the case in this scenario. That is where it did. So looking first on our domestic charts here, 213. It's interesting that this movie blows Rush Hour 2 out of the water as far as the biggest opening. But 213 domestic was still not enough to top Rush Hour 2's domestic gross. So this movie is actually going to slide in the number 12 spot just behind Rush Hour 2, which domestically
And what
made
did Rush Hour 2
200
finish with?
made 226.2.
Okay, so right in that same ballpark.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
right,
Rush Hour
yeah,
2 beats it out.
right in the same ballpark, but still is going to fall in right behind that. And then as far as worldwide goes, though, so it's good enough to slot in. Well, also still doesn't beat Rush Hour 2 worldwide either. So it's actually going to slot into the number 18th spot, just behind The Perfect Storm, which made 328.7 million, but just enough to beat X-Men, which made 296.3 million. Rush Hour
Interesting.
2, 2 spots ahead, with 347.3 million.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah,
interesting.
the other thing to point out about these international numbers is like this is before there really is any international market that's rivaling the North American market in any way.
Yeah,
Like China isn't really the movie market that it eventually
it
turns
eventually
into
becomes. Yeah.
at this point. It's
Also,
still everything outside of the US is much smaller than maybe we
yeah.
might be used to these
And
days.
I think Rush Hour 2 got that bump because it internationally did 121 million. So it probably
Yeah,
helped have that boost from Jackie Chan.
maybe
So it
maybe
got
that's the
itself.
start of it, right? Jackie Chan's your intro to the Chinese market, yeah.
Yeah. So they were like,
And then so that it's right in that ballpark with Rush Hour 2. Rush Hour 2 beats it, but then just to look at the rest of the Austin Powers trilogy again,
yeah.
you they stay in that same order, 1, 2, 3. Goldmember is the highest grossing with the 213
Uh-huh.
domestic. Um, Spy Who Shagged Me though, right in that same area, 206 million domestic. So like they're like neck and neck. And then I mean that's way behind International Man of Mystery, which finished with 54-ish domestic.
Interesting.
But so what I was thinking of earlier, surprising that they didn't like this movie was successful. You know what I mean? Like the most successful of the bunch. Austin Powers at this point is like a pretty household name, I think. Like I'm sure they're killing it in home video, you know.
Well,
Um
you would think getting the fourth highest grossing opening weekend of all time is a sure thing to get a sequel like greenlit.
yeah, and I think so there was a sequel and you talked about it going into development hell and yada yada. And like I wonder if Mike Myers like wanted to do some other stuff for a little bit cuz like you know you've been making these Austin Powers movies and you kind of start to just become that's who you are and like you know Mike Myers is a guy with lots of characters. And then in 2007 he makes The Love Guru
Uh,
which absolutely bombs at the box office and like just gets completely and utterly panned critically. Like everybody hates this movie.
like I think you, me, and Ryan are the only ones who paid for that.
I mean, I remember we saw it, so we'll get to it at
We
some
did.
point.
What
But
is it,
I
you
think
pun face?
from things that I've read after The Love Guru is a total disaster, they're like, maybe we pump the brakes on Mike Myers as a guy who stars in anything. And also,
Mhm.
one of the other movies that he makes in the interim is it's coming up. I think it comes out the year after this.
Oh,
Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat is one of the
yeah.
other things that he moves on to.
Yep.
Uh, Also, not very well received, from what I remember. People-
Yeah, that's true. The 2000s outside of Goldmember were not kind to Mike Myers.
Yeah, so I think he kind of like gets away from it a little for a little while, and then his career basically, it to say it cools off would be like saying the Ice Age was like a like a brisk
Yeah.
temperature. You know what I mean? He cools off like he goes from 100 to 0 real quick. You know?
It's almost like in hindsight, he like probably should, even though, I understand the sentiment that, you don't want to completely be only known for this character. You want to be able to branch out and try other things. But on the inverse side, trying those other things completely torpedoed him.
Well, yeah, and I mean like for something like Cat in the Hat, that almost feels like a step up from these movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like you look back to like the Grinch, there was like that movie was like nominated for Oscars, like it was like a
Yeah.
big hit, you know
Like
what
it
I
was,
mean? And like
yeah, like
it's
it
still
wasn't
kind
a
of a cult
bad,
classic even to this day.
yeah, it wasn't a bad move for him to go for Cat in the Hat, like because before it came out, going off of the prestige of the Grinch, like it would be a no-brainer on paper. Like,
It
yeah,
feels
Cat in the
like
Hat, I
it
should do
feels
that
like a
totally.
reward.
Yeah,
It feels like
exactly,
a reward for
exactly.
turning Goldmember and Austin Powers into such a moneymaker where you're like,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, you're like a comedic movie star. Like we're gonna give you these bigger roles, and then the Cat in the
exactly.
Hat does not go well, from what I remember.
No, no, it does not. Although that movie is very much like you said, like a cult classic now. Like that movie is so deranged. People love it these days.
Yeah,
And
not to give too much away. Is that gonna be on our list at some point? Did you see that movie?
Jim, you bet your fucking ass I saw that in
Oh
theaters.
no. Okay, so believe it was 2003, so that's coming up
2003.
soon.
Yep, we'll get our asses there at some point.
Oh
But
man.
yeah, you would think that even after the Cat in the Hat's critical reception too, like you would think you would be quick to jump back into the world of Austin Powers to get that hit again and get you back up there. So it's interesting again that from that he decided to double down and then do the Love Guru.
Well, maybe we'll do a little bit of a deep dive on Mike Myers right now, just because we're talking about it. But like, I don't know that he does much between the Cat in the Hat and the Love Guru. Like the
I
Cat
don't
in the
think he
Hat,
does.
if I remember correctly, is like almost it's like a movie that puts his career on life support. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's so poorly received, and it's so like the movie is so poorly received, and it also hinges so totally on his performance that I think it's just like impossible to come back from. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. He's just treading water almost at that point, just trying to find something that will keep him relevant.
Yeah, like I don't even know if after the Cat in the Hat that the studio is excited to make Goldmember. You know what I'm saying? Like, or to make like
Yeah.
another Austin
To make
Powers
whatever the
movie.
next one is. Yeah. Like he's almost got to earn that goodwill back. And unfortunately, the movie that he tried to do that with was The Love Guru.
He makes a sequel to Shrek.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He
He does
makes the
have,
two sequels to Shrek
yeah,
after Cat in the Hat. So that I mean that's another big reason.
that he
Like those
stays at
movies are
least somewhat.
way more successful than like Goldmember and Austin
Yeah.
Powers, and those are probably huge paychecks
Yeah.
too.
But also voice work, a very different animal than when they actually see you on camera.
Yeah, no, but like I just mean like he tries Cat in the Hat, that's a failure. The reason he doesn't jump right back to Austin Powers is because he's got like
He's got Shrek.
he's making Shrek 2 and Shrek the Third. Like those are
Yeah.
like those like
Huge moves.
probably the first 2 weeks of Shrek 2 probably outgrossed all the Goldmember movies combined, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. But still, Goldmember, absolute huge, huge success for him, and not only at the box office, but it's pretty solid critically as well. Comedy is
Yeah,
always very hit or miss. So it ends up 53% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think 53 is still rotten. I forget what the threshold is. I think it's like 70 something.
yeah, I
Uh,
want to say who cares though? Like
or you're
53 is
fresh.
not the worst score I've ever heard.
Yeah, but also it's like, come on, 53 really, like eat shit. Fares a
I
little
just
better.
don't know what a critic was going into Austin Powers expecting. You know what
That's
I
what I
mean? It'd
always,
be
yeah,
interesting to read some of those reviews
some of
because
those reviews.
it's like maybe that maybe they're going to the well, like the to the different like to the different Austin Powers wells too often. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe I don't know. I fares a bit better on IMDb, sits with about a 6.2 average. And then interestingly enough, this is the one that kind of threw me for a loop, because we talked last week how enough, at least with the opening weekend crowd, was good enough to score an A minus cinema score. Austin Powers and Goldmember, B plus.
Oh, I mean that's not a bad cinema score, but it's not a good one either.
Yeah. I mean,
Like B
especially for
plus
like
is kind of like meh from what I've seen of those.
yeah, especially for like a well, I mean, I guess it kind of tracks with a comedy because the comedy is the most subjective, I feel like, of all of them because no two people are alike perfectly in their humor. Everyone finds
Yeah.
something unique that they think is funny. So it's easily probably the biggest fluctuating number that you could see in regards to what people are going to get out of it. So
I
we'll
guess I
we'll
just don't get like by the time you get to the third movie in a series like Austin Powers,
yeah, like you should
are
know
you
what you're
not
getting.
getting exactly what you expected to get? Like, did you go
Exactly.
in and be surprised by anything? Like, is there anybody seeing it that hasn't seen the other two like a million times? You know?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just like if you've seen it and liked the other two, like clearly you know what you're getting into here. And if you didn't and if you saw the other two and didn't like them, you still know what you're getting into here. So yeah, I don't, when you see movies like this, it's like what did people expect?
Yeah,
So we'll
like
see.
how could you see Goldmember and be let down by it? I just like I can't
Exactly. That's
imagine that that
exactly.
happens. You
That's
know?
what I'm saying. Exactly. I completely agree with you. So it'll be interesting to see where we align here along with the critics, if our scores will reflect what we see here on these three lovely ratings. So let's dive into this bad boy here, Jim. Let me hear some likes, some dislikes. What do you enjoy about Austin Powers and Goldmember?
So I'm gonna start off with like a dislike probably, which is that they do play the hits. They play like all of the hits.
They do.
Like and like the only thing that maybe saves it a little bit is that they hang like the lantern on the fact that they're playing the hits when Ozzy Osbourne's like, "Hey, they're doing the same joke they did in the last movie." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that kind of works. Like but like that whole thing like is very tired to me at this point where like it's like cutting away to all the different people like filling in with euphemisms for boobs. Like I don't know why I thought that was so funny the first time they did it in The Spy Who Shagged Me. And then like I probably thought it was funny the first time I saw Goldmember. And then this time I was kind of like, oh my god, I'm like Ozzy Osbourne. Like I get it. Like it's the same joke. It's not even that good. Um, but so like I definitely didn't like that. There was a lot of like going back to the well on a lot of it. Um, a lot of it still works though. Like a lot of it's still pretty funny. Not that part, but like some of the classic jokes. Like is Scotty Don't from one of the other movies? It's like
Yeah. Well, like they always kind of riff on it because I think they do Scotty Don't in Spy Who Shagged Me, or he does like the zip it, the zip.
oh yeah, it's Zip It. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's like they're in the same vein of like, and then it's like Mini Me and Scotty fighting is like a joke that this movie does a lot. So like, I like that part. Um, overall though, it's just so stupid and it makes me laugh, dude. So like, I like it because a lot of the stuff hits for me, and like, I think my favorite part about it is it's a third movie in a series of spoof movies about like James Bond, right? And like
yeah,
they kind of maybe get further and further from the James Bond thing, but they do something that I think works so well for the third movie in a series of spoof movies is that they take everything to these like totally illogical places, right? Like or like not even illogical, but like campy places. Like of course in the third movie it's like oh Austin Powers' dad who's also a spy is
yeah.
there, you know what I mean, and like oh by the way the main villain is his brother.
Well, it
Like
plays on those hits of James Bond where it's like the longer the franchise goes on, the more and more ridiculous it has to be to like be
right
the previous one. So that's
because
what's
they
so
need to keep it
cool.
new and interesting and like
Yeah,
find ways to surprise you, and you
yeah,
just run out of cool ways to do that, so you
yeah.
start doing stupid shit like the Dr. Evil's his brother.
Yeah,
which is stupid, but it works because I feel like that's what they're making fun of in this movie. Like that's what
exactly.
sequels do, you know?
Yeah, and I can agree with you too that there are a lot of times where the hits when they play the hits that some of them feel tired, but then there's also times where they play the hits in just a different way that cracks me up. Because like one of the ones that I love is it's so just like silly and stupid to even put it in there to begin with. But like one of my favorite things that was from the second one is where Doctor Evil just raps his own verse of just the two of us.
Yeah, yeah.
And in this one, when like they're in prison, he just decides to rap his own version of like Jay-Z's fucking It's a Hard Knock Life.
Yeah,
And
while they're in prison, yeah, and
yeah,
then they
and it gets
escape at the
yeah.
end.
Dude, and I all the time, still to this day, do like the spot where he's like, I got a bust a move, dropping bust a groove, feeling fine. Like I'll just randomly say that and I'll forget like where I even heard that from. And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
for
not a
fucking
bad
gold.
rap. It's not a good rap, but it's not a
Dude,
bad rap. And like the video is really funny.
dude, it's so goddamn silly.
With
But
like
like
Mini Me's got like the bandana tied on.
yeah, and they're like on the back of the motorcycle with like the obvious fake backdrop like behind them.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
But
it's so silly. And I
no,
enjoy like
yeah,
how
and
they
like
yeah, go on.
there's another hit that I just thought of that's like basically a copy of something from the second movie, but I want to like introduce it a little bit first, right? Because another thing that I love about this movie, and probably all three of these movies to an extent, is they're such funny physical comedy. You know what I mean? Like there's so
Absolutely.
many goofy things happening like that are just like sight gags. Like for starters, the way Mike Myers reacts to basically anything anyone says to him is so funny in this movie. He's making all these ridiculous faces and like stuff like and it's so good that it's a Bond parody because like the thing with Bond is like he plays everything cool. He no sells everything. You know what I mean? It could be the most surprising thing in the world and he's like, "Oh, whatever, just give me a martini." You know what I mean? Like and he's like he's always got like a witty like secret agent kind of response. In this movie something surprising happens and like the best secret agent in the world like gives it away in 1 second with the look on his face that something's not right or like whatever. Like so the bit that I'm talking about, one, when they are like infiltrating Dr. Evil's lair, and they're like, one of us needs to get on the other one's shoulders, and for some reason they pick Mini Me to be on the bottom, like, and so they're walking down that hallway, and they're just like wobbling left and right, like they like have no balance whatsoever. His legs are like so tiny compared to his like giant body, and he's got like the big like poofed out jacket. It's just such a funny like on-site gag, right? And then like they get caught, and like the guy's like everybody's got to get a physical. So when they go into the physical room and they do that bit that's from the second movie
Yeah, we're
where
like
like
but
you
they're
can only
behind
see
the
them on the other side of the screen with the shadows. And there's just so many good parts there, like when he's got to do the urine sample and he like gives Mini Me the apple juice to drink. Funniest part of this movie, hands down, Mini Me just starts spitting it like everywhere. Like he can't make like a solid stream like that's believable in any way. There's just apple juice shooting in like every direction, like all over the room, like barely getting into the cup. So good. And
yeah,
then
that
yeah, like the whole thing when like his arm is like pointing at the map on the other side of the screen, and the other guy getting the physical's like, what the fuck?
they're like losing it. And then like when they finally get the jump on him, like and he turns and like Mini Me like it's almost like he gave birth. And then you just see like Mini Me run into like the rafters. It just disappears.
Yeah, yeah, he pulls the gun and Mini Me goes for the vents. Yeah,
It's so fucking silly.
yeah.
I yeah,
But like,
I
just like, yeah, the physical comedy of all of it is like so over the top and so
yeah.
good and
No,
hilarious.
and he's so funny about pulling sight gags that like you wouldn't normally expect. Because one of the things I love, and I think it's one of the things they do really well, is always coming up with really funny opening scenes too. So the fact that like he opens the scene as if like Hollywood is shooting a movie about Austin Powers.
Yeah.
So you get all the like hilarious gags of, the actors that they would pick to play them in movies. You get Tom Cruise, you get Gwyneth Paltrow,
Yeah.
Danny DeVito and Kevin Spacey. But to me, like the one that cements it the most, that cracks me up every time, is the fact that like Steven Spielberg's the one directing the movie. And as
Yeah.
and as Austin Powers is like, no man, but like you got to give it some mojo. And then he goes into the dance number, and you see Steven Spielberg like start running, and then just starts doing like gymnastic like backflips, like, and
Yeah.
it's so hilariously silly because it's the last thing you would expect. So just like, oh, Steven Spielberg's just gonna start doing pirouettes and backflips.
Yeah, it's the whole opening dance number is so funny. And then like they go to like Britney Spears'
Here's his,
video shoot
yeah,
and like he has the dance off and she's got the fembot like boob cannons.
yeah. And
And
he's
then or ladies and gentlemen, Quincy Jones.
yeah, gee, I love when he does shit like that. Like it's like the perfect, like, for what I think of what I love so much in comedy is just that type of visual humor where it's like the world makes zero sense. Like he's gonna do like fourth wall breaking shit, like walk off the movie into the sound stage and kiss the fucking like orchestra and then run back into the movie. And like you would never really see a comedy movie today do something like that.
Yeah, I mean I guess not. I don't know, maybe.
Or
But
just that
like
like
it
it's
is
not like the
cool the
in
way they
thing.
do it. Like especially that part with Quincy Jones where like he's on camera and then like you're at the wall and then like you said it like pulls out and he like jumps off and they're on the soundstage. It's so cool.
It's so great.
Favorite part of the opening though is when they're introducing everybody and Danny DeVito is Mini Me and his only line is just like I'm Mini Me and he starts like shooting a gun in the air and he's got like a cigar in his mouth.
He's like
It's so
flipping
good.
people off. Like it's so perfect. But yeah, every like
Um,
this is
where
one of those
does
movies. Yeah, go on.
where does Beyonce rank for you in the Austin Powers co-star pantheon?
Honestly, at the bottom, but not that like she's anything bad or anything. I just don't think I think she's given like the least amount to do out of all of them.
Yeah,
Like she's kind of
I
just there. Like she feels like they were just like, yeah, Beyonce's huge. Like let's get Beyonce in it. But she doesn't
yeah,
really do much throughout it. Like
I
I
think
don't know.
that
She doesn't
she's
really
my
do much.
favorite of the three.
Really
Like
interesting.
in these movies, yeah, I would say she's my favorite of the three. Cause like Elizabeth Hurley is probably a close second, and she plays like an actual like tropey character, like the female like secret agent in the New World. You know what I mean? But Heather Graham is just like I don't understand. Like Heather Graham's just like some bimbo from the '60s in the movie. Like that's really it. Like I
She did
guess like
not.
she's
She did
supposed to be
not go
more like
through
a Charlie's
sleeping.
Angels kind of character.
She did not suffer sleeping with Fat Bastard for you to slander her like that.
I know it's just like in terms of like tropey like movie characters, like Beyonce being like the exploitation like woman cop like from the 70s is so
Yeah,
cool. You know what I mean? Like it's just
fair.
such a cool character for to be in this.
That's fair. I mean, and it's all just like apples and oranges. They're all technically like the same character in every movie, really, when you boil it down.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is I would argue that Beyonce has the most to do out of all three of them because like the other one like yeah, there's like good actresses, probably better actresses than Beyonce, but like the characters feel like lame. I don't know.
Right. I mean, that's fair.
But I'm
See,
putting it Beyonce, Elizabeth Hurley, then Heather Graham.
ooh, throwing Heather Graham all the way at the bottom. I mean, I probably would also put Heather Graham below Elizabeth Hurley, but I would probably sandwich her in the middle. But I don't
Yeah.
dislike Beyonce in this. I don't have a problem with like any of them. I think they're all like perfectly fine.
I love there's that one scene where when they save Austin Powers' dad and the two of them are like going at each other and like it's like maybe my favorite acting in the whole movie where like they're like saying like progressively like she's laughing at all their jokes and then it starts to get serious and then she laughs at Michael Caine's joke and then realizes that wasn't the right joke to laugh at because he's going too far. Like
An
she
issue,
she
he is
plays
its
it so
issue.
well.
right? That scene when he's like,
Yeah,
you
that's
have an
that scene,
issue?
right?
Here's a
Have an issue,
tissue.
and then she's like laughing, and then she like kind of like looks over and realizes she shouldn't be laughing, and kind of just like stands there all uncomfortable.
He found a way to mine so much gold from like the daddy issue thing, because even like from the get-go, where like you see Austin Powers at like his like party after he caught Dr. Evil, and he's singing the song where it's like, daddy,
Yeah,
he wasn't
dude.
there.
My my favorite is he he goes to get knighted, right? Wasn't that what he was doing?
He's getting knighted, and there's no save the
Yeah,
spot.
and it's like he's like, "Come on, Dad, stand up, take a
Think
bow,"
about
and it like cuts, and there's like a big sign that says it's reserved for Nigel Powers, but there's nobody sitting there.
and for some reason, everyone just decides to laugh at him for that. Like,
Yeah. No, and then it cuts to him singing that silly song,
yeah,
which is like such
daddy,
an early 2000s pop punk
yeah,
anthem.
daddy wasn't there to
Like
take me
that's on
to the
alternative
bed.
radio back in 2002.
And then at the end, he's like, daddy wasn't there, everybody, peace.
Yeah. No, and then but then they go to the flashback and the same thing happens when he gets named
Yeah.
International Man of Mystery.
And they have like the old
Like,
janitors in like
stand up,
both
Dad, take a
scenes.
bow.
Stand up, dad, take a bow.
And then it's just not there.
Yeah,
So no,
it's
yeah, the
so
daddy issues thing is pretty funny, and like it plays out really well like throughout the movie. Like their interactions as adults are when they're doing all the like Cockney rhyming slang and stuff.
yeah. I told her, bitch, pot on a scan, and he's like, oh, you want to talk the English?
Yeah,
One's at all sixes and sevens. It's like so absolutely ridiculous. They struck gold, like they at picture perfect casting, getting Michael Caine to play the
oh
daddy
yeah,
spot.
he's amazing in it.
Like
He's amazing.
he's so like I die every time when he's like, there's two things I can't stand: people who are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the
And the
Dutch.
Dutch, it's so stupid. Such a bad joke, dude. By the
So
way, how great! This was like one of the most refreshing things I've seen in a movie in a long time. When they do the flashback of the car blowing up, like, and then, like at the end when you find out they're brothers, and he's like, "Yeah, we were on holiday. It was like I just finished up a big mission, and like I took your mom to Belgium or whatever." When the car blows up and they cut to Michael Caine, and it's like actually like a young Michael Caine, um, it was just so refreshing because like it wasn't like some like CGI like de-aged like monstrosity. It was just footage of Michael Caine from a movie he had filmed in like the 60s.
so funny. Like that's
Yeah.
it's so perfect.
like like it was called like Sundown Coming or something. Hold on, let me look it up really fast because I
That's
looked
so
this up earlier. Because
like
when I
that's
watched it,
such
I was like, dude, that's like the best like de-aging I've ever seen anyone do in a movie. Like, did they just find somebody who looked exactly like Michael Caine and put him in the movie, or like, how did they do that? So I was looking it up, and it was like, yeah, it's just he was in another movie, like in 1967 or 1969 or something,
yeah.
and it's just like a little clip from that movie, and that's it.
So that's so goddamn perfect. It's
Yeah,
so
but it
funny.
was like it was so refreshing because it was like, oh my god, it looks real, like
Yeah.
it looks
And
like him.
it was easy for them to do that probably too, because it's literally like you probably see that scene for like 3 seconds, like his
Right,
shot of
right.
him
And
reacting
it
to
might not
that.
have even been something that was in the old movie. It might have just been some like B-roll they had lying around, you know?
Very true. Yeah, that's entirely possible. Yeah, it's so funny. That's so funny. I love also when he comes in, when Michael Caine comes in at the end, and they're like, "What's he gonna do?" And he's like, "All right, we're gonna act like you're not gonna come at me. I'm gonna judo chop you right now. You're gonna go down."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like, and Doctor Evil's just like, "Oh, he's good."
Yeah, oh my god, he's good. And then like the guy goes up, look at you, you don't even have a name
Yeah,
tag.
like, you don't even
You
have a name
got no
tag. You got no business
chance.
being. You got no chance. And he just like lays down.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah,
And then
dude.
when Mini Me like holds him up at gunpoint, and the first thing he's asking him is to like see Mini Me's dick.
Yeah.
He's
He's
like,
like, "Oh my
is
god,
it
it's a tripod."
all in proportion?
Yeah. He's like, "Look at it, like it's a kickstand."
It's so that movie is so silly.
Yeah, it's some of those movies. It's just some of the stuff they say is just so ridiculous. I die every time when they're driving and Mini Me's in the back seat, and they got him in like a car seat too. Like, and he's giving the notes to Foxy. He's like, "You are so beautiful," and He's like, "Are you sure you don't have like a little mini me inside you?" And
Oh
she's like,
yeah.
"No," and he's like, "Want one?" And like Austin just loses it. He's like,
Dude,
"Horny
we gotta talk
motherfucker."
too about Fred Savage in this movie.
Fucking number three,
The mole.
the mole. Mole. That's a joke that gets tired after a little
It
while.
gets old, yeah, and that's not even one of the hits. Like that's not from any of the
Yeah,
other
and that's
movies.
a new one, but that's literally just one they're like, "Hey, a mole is a funny thing, right? What if I just say mole a bunch of times?" You're like, "Hey, all right, like I guess."
Yeah.
Like that
It
joke gets
was funny
tired.
though that he was a mole with a giant mole
Yeah,
on his
with a giant
face.
mole. No, in the beginning it's hilarious. Like after a while it gets a little tired, but one of the spots with him that does get me every time is when Fred Savage goes to take the call outside where he's talking about how like they've turned Mini Me, but Austin doesn't know yet. So like Mini Me comes in and Austin just beats the ever living shit out of him.
Yeah, yeah. That's another great like physical comedy part of it where they're just
Yeah,
like destroying like the whole office
yeah.
fighting each other.
And it pays off because Austin remembers like Mini Me does like the peace sign and he's like, "Oh, peace, peace," but then he remembers from movie two
Yeah,
where he
in
like bit him
space
in
when
the
he did
dick.
it. Yeah.
So he just beats when he puts him in the pillowcase and it's just slinging him all over the room.
Yeah.
I
It's
fucking
pretty
cry.
silly.
I fucking cry, man. It's so good.
Yeah, and then I mean like the what's the German lady's name? Frau?
Yeah, Frau Farbissina.
Yeah, the way she yells always cracks me up. Like I know that's like bigger in the second one when she does like the countdown,
Yeah.
but there's still moments of it in this movie where she's like got like the real screamy yelly voice going that's so funny.
Yeah, and I like that they switch it up enough too with Seth Green, where like he finally comes into like his Doctor Evilness. He's like lost his
Oh.
hair. He got Doctor Evil, the sharks with laser beams on its head on their head.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you
No, and
telling
then
me
it
are
like
those
flips on him, like he's turning more evil, and then Doctor Evil's all like, "Oh man, I don't want to be evil anymore."
Yeah. Or like when he's just like, it's getting a little cramped in here. Everybody out. He's like, no, not you, Frau. No, not you, Scott. No, not you, guy turning knobs, acting like he's
Not
doing
you,
something.
henchman, arbitrarily turning knobs, making it look like you're doing something. I also I love Fat Bastard in this movie. I think the way like his like transformation from the first one is so funny. Like where he's
Oh
now
yeah.
doing sumo wrestling.
Hey, diaper lady. Something in your diaper.
And the fight they have is great too. This might be the part of this movie that I quote the most these days.
Yeah.
Um when when they're fighting when they're fighting and he's like about to do like the big wire fighting jump over the pole and
Eh,
he's like
I just hope my wire fighting team is ready!
that's, that's maybe my favorite. I just hope my wire fighting team is ready.
and I love like what he's going to, and it cuts to them, and they like can't hold it, and the one just goes like flying as the rope
Yeah.
just goes
It's
loose.
another one too where they have like just the shadows
Yeah,
behind the
it's
thing.
just the
Like
silhouettes. He's like, "Oh, this is grand, wonderful." As he's just like spinning on the one wire.
yeah, another fourth wall break. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's so good. How does the newest member of the Austin Powers pantheon in this movie work for you? The titular character Goldmember.
I think he's perfect, dude. He's got like a couple of good sight gags, like when that's like a thing that keeps up throughout the movie when Foxy Cleopatra keeps putting the gun to him from behind and he does like the wacky kicks.
Yeah, like he could just rip his legs up from an unfortunate schmelting accident.
No, but like at the end, she like dodges a couple of them and then he does both at once, and you're just
Same
like, what?
time, the double kick.
I thought he
It's
was funny
so
though. I thought like I like the whole like the fact that he's just like rollerblading everywhere.
everywhere. Yeah, no, he's so funny. And the thing you played in the intro is something that I do all the time that I always think is so funny. When he's like bonging a blintz, smoking a pancake,
Yeah,
then
pipe and a
there's no
cripe is what
pleasing
always
it.
gets me.
Yeah, bonging a
Pipe and a
blintz.
cripe.
So
But
fucking
it's also
stupid.
like it's just another good James Bond parody because like I know you've seen all the James Bond movies and I didn't see Goldfinger until after I had seen this movie. And like, isn't that in Goldfinger? Isn't that like they're literally just like painting people gold after they kill them? Like that's like their big calling card.
They like leave the one girl dead in James Bond's apartment, and she's just completely like ensconced in gold and just like
Yeah,
choked to
right,
death on the
right,
paint.
right. Which again, I mean, like you're talking about movies like that are over the top.
Yeah.
Those Bond movies were some of them were so silly.
Oh, dude, they're so insane. Even in that one, like even the ones that are considered like some of the best of all time are still so wildly over the top. Because in that one, there's one henchman called Odd Job, and he just takes off his like bowler cap and
Yeah,
throws
yeah,
it at people so fast that it just knocks their head off. Like,
right. Which they also make fun of in the first Austin Powers movie
yeah,
when
the
he
first
throws the
Austin
shoe.
Powers. Yeah,
But
yeah,
no, the best Bond movies are the ones where they don't do that though. Like my favorite Bond movie. I'll give you one guess what my favorite Bond movie is.
oh man, your favorite Bond is it? Who's the Bond?
Connery.
Connery. Oh, fucking From Russia with Love.
Yeah,
Yeah,
easily my
yeah,
favorite Bond movie
easily.
because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's got some cool gadgets, but in terms of
It's
like
very
actual like
serious.
things that are happening, it's very like spy crafty and like nobody's
Well,
getting
just
painted gold.
the fight scene at the end, like the tight quarters fight in the train,
Yeah,
with
the one they have in the train compartment. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like one
yeah,
of the best fight
oh,
scenes ever in a movie, and they're just like wrestling for
yeah,
all of it.
filthy good.
But so like that's like those are the kind of Bond movies I like, except for the one with Christopher Walken. That one's not way over the top, and that's
God,
probably my second favorite.
View to a Kill.
Yeah, View to a Kill. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a movie.
but no, so I don't know. I just like Goldmember like is a pretty great continuation, and then like I mean his whole shtick is that he just talks kind of funny, but like I also just love like the way he's like I'm Goldmember. I like gold. Like when he introduces himself, like he says something like very on the nose. I can't remember what it was.
Always like so like silly. Can I paint this Winky gold? He's like, how about
Yeah.
no, you crazy Dutch bastard?
Yeah. So I mean, Goldmember was all right. He's probably I don't know. It feels like the cap that I can put on Austin Powers Goldmember is this is the one I rewatch the most, and this is the one where I really feel like it has all the hits and like also like enough unique, interesting stuff on its own that I feel like I end up not needing to. I never feel like I need to watch the other two. I feel like this one's enough, you know.
Yeah, no, we know how you are with your once I've seen one that's done it the best. Like, do I need
Yeah,
to
this is the peak of Austin Powers for me. Yeah, this is the best
really?
of the three.
Interesting.
Yep,
That
I
was
would
gonna be
say
one of
this is
my
the peak.
that was gonna be one of my questions since we're not going to be doing any of the other ones, was trying to see like which one is peak Austin Powers for you. And it's interesting that it was this one.
Yeah,
Was there is
for the
there
reasons I
anything?
just mentioned, like I feel like they kind of perfect some of the funnier bits from other movies
Yeah.
and like do them in a way that's either just as funny or funnier. And then like it's also got enough of its own unique stuff going on, and I don't know. I think this is probably my favorite of the three.
Interesting. I could feel that. Is there anything else that didn't work for you?
Uh, I not really, because like everything I want to say didn't work. Just feels like that's what they're going for. Like it's silly that time travel is just such an easy part of the whole thing in this one now compared to the last one. But it's just like, yeah, of course, because that's like how sequels work, you know?
Yeah, but they're always just taking the cars like into the right, like they just drive the car into the past every time.
Yeah, he drove like the '70s like pimp car this time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, I love that scene where it's like everyone's in the disco club and like the music's building up and like the doors just open and he comes in like the pimp outfit and then just starts like strutting his way in and like everyone's just like digging on it. Oh, dude,
Oh, dude, how did we not mention this? Okay, I don't have a thing I didn't like. I just have another part that would be criminal if we don't talk about it.
okay.
Um, I this is probably kind of a that guy too. Is Nathan Lane a that guy?
Nathan Lane. Yeah, definitely. Well, probably right on the line. I feel like more people would know him than wouldn't, but I could see people not knowing his name. And that's right. He is the dude that she
He
uses as
plays
the
the like the
proxy to talk
interpreter at the
through.
club. Yeah.
Man, you know you was wrong for not talking to me, running out on me.
Yeah, and he does like the every time that he says "Foxy Cleopatra," he does like a
Makes
snap.
he makes the snap. Or when she pinches her finger on the mirror case and he makes the noise with it too.
No, he
Or
pinches
he
his
pinches
finger.
it.
He
Yeah, he
closes
pinches
it,
it.
and
Yeah.
she's like, "Ow!"
Yeah.
And
So
then
fucking
I think another part that Beyonce's acting is like way overlooked. At the end, when she like wishes him off and like Hope tells him to come back, and Nathan Lane kisses him, like the look on Beyonce's face where she's like, "What? Like I didn't want to do that." And it's like the interpreter just decided to kiss him. Like,
so into business. That's
but yeah,
yeah.
that part's great.
Yeah, I
He's
forgot.
so
Yeah,
he was like the role of a lifetime for Nathan Lane.
Nathan Lane. Yeah, but they always manage to sandwich so many people into this. Even like with all those crazy cameos that you talked about, like you talked about Ozzy Osbourne, like the all of the Osbournes are in that like little spot right there. Like he managed to convince Britney Spears to come in. Like how he managed to convince like John Travolta, Tom Cruise, and like Kevin Spacey and Gwyneth Paltrow and all them to like do that opening is like so amazing.
Yeah, they're just having fun with it, you know.
Yeah, absolute classics around there. It's so fun, and that cracks me up too. Like at the end, like after they've done with Goldmember, and you're just expecting them to finish it, but then like Goldmember stands up, and it's John Travolta, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, you're watching the movie that they filmed. It's like this fucking shit is so funny, and fucking fat bastard went on the Subway diet, like ooh,
Oh yeah, and his skin's like all loose
yeah,
at the end.
yeah. He's like, although my neck does look like a vagina.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
but
it's
it's like so. I
so
don't know. I guess to cap this off before we get into IMDb deep dive, do you want to see them make another one of these at this point?
honestly, no, I don't.
Right? I
I don't.
mean, I just
We've seen it time and time again how sequels to comedies 20 plus years down the line just don't have that magic that the original run had. And I don't want to see it.
here's the way I look at it, and it's kind of the same vein you're talking about it there. If if the people behind like Anchorman or I don't know, what's a couple other examples? Zoolander is probably another really
Zoolander,
famous example.
Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber or Austin Powers. If they make it 20 years without making the other one, I don't know that there's really a lot of like drive there to do it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how interested like the people involved are in actually making one. It's like it always feels like they get like guilted into it by this like weird like fan service where fans really like the movie and like they're like they did really well and they probably sold a lot of DVDs and people are like, "Oh yeah, I definitely want another one of those." And it's like, I don't think you do if they're not
Yeah.
really putting their all into it. I don't think you do want one of those actually.
Yeah. No, I definitely don't want another one. I can perfectly live off of these three for the rest of my days.
To start off IMDb deep dive, um, a real quick hit. This is so ridiculous. I can't even believe this is real.
Yeah.
Okay, so Fook You and Fook Me are like the Asian twins in the movie, right?
Yeah.
Uh, for starters, not twins in real life. Maybe a little bit, maybe a little bit iffy. One of them, Diane Mazoda. Is Mazoda even an Asian name? Just
I
makes me
like
wonder. But credited as Fook You,
it.
Carrie Ann Inaba, who famously goes on to be a judge on Dancing with the Stars.
What?
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't not bring that up. I just saw her name and I was like, no, that can't be.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, a judge on Dancing with the Stars, but originally Fook You in Goldmember. Which, so yeah, this week we're gonna do Carrie Ann Inaba for.
All right. And do every season of Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, then in season 16, she was with Maxime or whatever their names are. All right, so then we already done Mike Myers. I know that we did him in Shrek. That leaves us really with Beyonce, Seth Green, Michael Caine, or we could go the director route. We could go Jay Roach.
Has been a minute since we've done a director.
It has been, yeah.
It
So
has been.
let's
Because
click on Jay
Michael
Roach.
Caine will be here all fucking day.
I mean, yeah. Plus, like he's got like a gazillion
He's
credits, so he's
gonna
probably
show
another one
up.
we could break him into different like career like
Yeah,
decades or
he'll
something,
show up,
and he'll also come up a million more times.
and I feel like Beyonce's not even really in that many movies. It'd be like this one and what, The Lion King?
Yeah. I mean, those sound like the two that she's in off the top of my head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where would you rank her concert movie in that list?
Oh my God, Renaissance.
All right, no. So we're gonna do Jay Roach.
Okay.
Starting in 1990, have you ever seen the movie Zoo Radio?
Never even heard of it.
Me neither. That's his first credit, 1990, as MJ Roach.
Ooh.
Then his next movie isn't until 1997, and that's when he makes Austin Powers International Man of Mystery. And then 1999 he makes The Spy Who Shot Me. Those are his next two. So, real quick, where do you put the three Austin Powers movies?
Okay,
Rank them.
so
for me.
let's rank them right now. I think my favorites. I think I would go Spy Who Shagged Me, then Goldmember, then International Man of Mystery. So I'd go
Okay.
2, 3, 1. What about
I'm
you?
going 3, 2, 1. I'm going like working my way backwards.
Reverse order.
It's on the
That's
the
fair.
Fast and the Furious trajectory where every movie is getting better.
Fair.
All right, so that's his credits so far. Also in 1999, do you take Austin Powers, Goldmember, or Mystery Alaska?
But dude, that's a deep cut right there. Mystery Alaska. That's with fucking Russell Crowe, right?
Russell Crowe is in Mystery Alaska, yeah.
Oh, dude, that movie is so
Who's the
good.
guy? He was just in that movie Abigail. He was like one of the buff like
Oh,
criminal dudes in Abigail.
Kevin Durant.
Is that his name?
Yeah, he's like the one that they kept calling like stupid, right? In
Yeah,
Abigail.
the big doofy looking one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
That's
mean that in the nicest of ways. That's
Yeah,
just how he looks.
that's Kevin Durant. Yeah, dude, he was
He's
just
in Mystery Alaska.
he was just the villain in the new Planet of the Apes movie too. That guy, criminally underrated actor.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's in Mystery Alaska. No, Mystery Alaska
Oh,
is
he
like
is.
a great
I'm
movie.
looking at it. I'm looking at it right now. He is in it
Hank
too.
Azaria's in Mystery
Yeah,
Alaska.
dude, that is a great fucking movie, man. I haven't watched that movie in forever.
I didn't realize that was the same director. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. It's what, between this one or Goldmember?
Yeah.
Fuck. I'm gonna give Goldmember the edge just because I haven't seen Mystery Alaska since I was like a kid, but I do remember loving that movie.
I am gonna take Mystery Alaska, and I'm gonna say you should watch it again immediately. It's a really good movie.
Yeah, I remember loving it, so I do have to watch. I gotta watch that. That'll be right after I watch For Love of the Game again. So it'd be my twofer.
Yeah, put Mystery Alaska first. But For the Love of the Game is maybe the best sports movie of all time. All right, then in 2000, I'm gonna ask you to pick between a set of trilogies here. Because in early 2000, Jay Roach directs, I mean, what for me is like a pretty seminal comedy movie. 2000's Meet the Parents.
Fuck. Oh, he didn't meet
that. I don't want to say that launches Ben Stiller's career, because Ben Stiller definitely has a career before that movie. But like, is that not the movie that like sends Ben Stiller into like the stratosphere? I mean, maybe Zoolander. But like, even Zoolander is more of like, I don't know. I feel like Meet the Parents is like has such a broad appeal. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the movie that really like makes Ben Stiller like a total household name.
Meet the Parents was also like a huge success at the box office, right? I think Zoolander was more of a cult classic. So I would definitely
it's more of a niche kind of movie. Yeah.
Meet the Parents was definitely the one that probably made him much more of a household name.
Yeah, and
Dude.
Zoolander is also like made off of like an SNL sketch, I'm pretty sure. Like
Yeah.
it's like off of that one where they're all
Yeah.
talking on the really tiny cell phones. That's like
Yeah.
what Zoolander is basically born out of.
So I would take the movie Meet the Parents over Goldmember, but I
Uh-huh.
would take the Austin Powers trilogy over the Meet the Parents trilogy.
Interesting, because I've never seen this third. What is it? I guess
Little
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 Fockers.
Fockers, yeah,
I've
that's
never seen that
you
movie,
could throw that in
but
a
I have
trash
seen
bin.
Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers, and I think those two movies are all like both way funnier than any of the Austin Powers movies.
They both are, but they don't. But the third one, Little Fockers, derails. Does not end on a high.
And they're also stacked with talent too. That's the other thing. Meet the Fockers especially, like adding in Dustin Hoffman and who plays his mom? Is
Barbara
it Barbara Streisand?
Streisand, yeah, Barbara
Yeah.
Streisand. Well, Jim,
They're
don't you
so
worry.
great.
We'll be getting to Meet the Fockers just soon enough.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, sweet. So, oh yeah, 2004, a couple of years. So yeah, so he makes. I would take this without having seen Little Fockers. I'd probably take the Meet the Parents trilogy. But so anyway, he makes Meet the Parents in 2000, and then Goldmember in 2002. Then follows that up with Meet the Fockers in 2004.
What a run right now.
Earth to America is like some TV special. I don't know what the heck that is.
We haven't heard of that.
There's a TV movie in here, Recount, and then his next return to theaters is 2010's Dinner for Schmucks.
Oh God,
Do you take Goldmember or Dinner for Schmucks?
Goldmember.
I'm gonna take Goldmember. I think Dinner for Schmucks was funny though. This was like peak like Zach Galifianakis, and he plays like a real weirdo in this movie.
You love me some
Um,
Paul Rudd.
I've never seen The Campaign. I'm pretty sure
Oh
that's like a Will Ferrell movie where they're like running for some like maybe
yeah,
president.
Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis, and they're running for I think a seat in Congress. It's
Okay.
not great. It's not great.
Yeah, so I'm assuming you'll take Goldmember. And then this is interesting
Absolutely.
because I don't think I've ever seen this, but I'm pretty sure this is more of a drama movie. 2015's Trumbo.
Never even heard of that.
I know Trumbo is like an author.
Wasn't
Or
he a
okay,
screenwriter?
1947, Dalton Trumbo was Hollywood's top
Yeah,
screenwriter
he was a
until he and
screenwriter.
other artists were jailed and blacklisted for their political
For
beliefs.
their
Right.
right, it was
And
like
then
the
I'm pretty sure
communist.
he was
Didn't he
like
write
blacklisted.
Spartacus?
Yeah, but this was like during like the Red Scare. Like he was like
Yeah,
blackballed because he was like supposedly like a communist, I'm pretty sure.
yeah. They
And
thought
then
he
I
was a
think that
communist.
like he wrote some movies under like a pseudonym, like movies that you've heard of that Dalton Trumbo wrote but don't have Dalton Trumbo's name on
Name
them
on it.
because they were playing like a little bit. I don't know how in the loop the people he was selling the stuff to, but he would like send scripts to people like with like weird names on them that weren't Dalton Trumbo.
Interesting.
But is this movie a comedy? This doesn't seem like a comedy.
Oh yeah, I don't. Well, I mean, yeah, that doesn't scream comedy. Dude getting blacklisted for being a suspected communist.
Right? I mean, I could see where you could play that for laughs. Like if you told me Mel Brooks directed that movie, like I would believe
Yeah.
it. You know?
But I don't know if you would take like a real person or like for that. If you wanted to make that a comedy, you'd probably like make somebody up around that time. You wouldn't be like, hey, let's turn Dalton Trumbo's like really horrific experience into a comedy.
Yeah, and Dalton Trumbo was a real guy, right? Like
Yeah.
that's not like a
No, he was. Yeah, he was a real dude. He's a real boy.
yeah. So I don't know. I think that's a drama movie. I think I've never seen it though, and I can't find anything that says what the.
It's a Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's a 2015 biographical drama film.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a hard turn for him.
So like that's like a weird like twist there that he just
Yeah,
started like because I feel like this movie got nominated for like Oscars question mark. I don't know. It definitely was like one of those like Oscar bait type of movies.
definitely an Oscar bait movie. Whether it actually got noms remains to be seen.
And then let me see. He's got a couple more credits here. He does another TV movie, All the Way. I've never heard of that.
Oh,
He directs in 2019 Bombshell. Does that ring a bell?
oh, yeah, it's a good movie. Wow, he did that. Wow, that's a good
I
one.
guess.
Yeah, so that was the movie. about the women at Fox News who outed the CEO
Oh,
for sexual harassment.
yeah. No, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah,
Yeah, it's with Margot Robbie, Charlize Theron, Nicole Kidman.
cool.
Yeah, that's a good movie. That's a really good movie. I like that movie a lot. John Lithgow plays the CEO. He's so good in that one. This will ruin
Oh,
Fox
he
News.
plays what's his name? Roger Ailes.
Yeah, Roger Ailes. Yeah,
Oh no,
yeah,
that's
dude,
probably so
he's so
good.
so good. Fucking love John Lithgow.
All right, so I gotta add that to the list, and then there's just some more TV stuff. 2020 does a TV movie called Coastal Elites. I've never heard of that.
Think we could avoid.
And 2023, he directed 8 episodes of High Desert, which so this is
Never
like a
heard of
pretty
that.
new show.
Interesting. Well, but hey, that's a pretty long run of just hitting comedy classic after comedy classic. You're talking three Austin Powers, two Meet the Parents, makes a great hockey movie in Mystery Alaska. Like this guy, great, has done some.
Yeah, Mystery Alaska is like it's like one of those like old school like comedies with a heart too. It's like the kind of
Yeah.
movie that like Judd Apatow wouldn't exist without Mystery Alaska. And there's like some really like there's some really like heavy star power in that movie. Like Russell Crowe is in Mystery Alaska.
yeah, yeah. Like that's
Post or no,
this is
pre-Gladiator.
still
Post
pre-Gladiator,
Gladiator?
but it's pre-Gladiator, but post LA Confidential.
Right. There you go. Okay.
Yeah. So still so huge stuff. That's still a big get for them getting Russell Crowe for that. So that's a very stellar career right there. So good for you, Jay Roach. But all right, Jim, let's turn our attention now to those lovely star ratings.
I'm Roger Ebert. In a scene from the best film of the decade. This is a great film.
Yes, Raj, it is. All right, Jim, let's hear those final thoughts, final ratings. Austin
I'm
Powers,
gonna
Gold member.
I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. I don't know. It's
3 out
like
of
a
5.
silly comedy movie.
It is. It's right down the middle. I'm actually going to echo those sentiments, and I was also going to give it right down the middle of the line, a 3 out of 5. It's a fun comedy movie. You can't go wrong with it. One of the better comedy movies that we've done here. And that's all I got to say about that. So with a 3 from Jimbo and a 3 from me, good enough to get us another 6 on the board here. We're filling in those 6s right now.
Yeah, that's
So
2 weeks in a row now.
2 weeks in a row now with a 6. Yep. So that's going to join other heavy hitters in the 6 category, like the movies Enough, Star Wars Episode 1 of Phantom Menace, and The Mummy Returns.
In
So,
that order, by the way. I remember Enough climbing the ranks of the 6s.
yeah, you live on that. You live on that heap while you can there, guy. Uh, so Jimbo, do you take The Mummy Returns or do you take Austin Powers in Goldmember?
I think we're gonna ride this to the top the same way that we did with
Oh my
Enough
God.
last week, and I'm gonna dare you to try and put any of these other movies ahead of Goldmember. I will take Goldmember.
I will also take Goldmember over The Mummy Returns easily. All right, so you're basically saying you're riding this over Star Wars and Enough?
I'm riding it over Star Wars. I am gonna leave Enough in its rightful spot as the king
Well,
of the 6s in my book.
then I could say, Jim, that I've had enough of you. Um, I'll agree to throwing it over Episode 1. Um, Putting it behind Enough it just seems out of control, hilarious at this point. It's just pure lunacy on your part, and I feel like you're throwing the list all over here right now. Absolutely,
Well,
but I mean it
you are
makes sense
free
because
to disagree.
you gave Enough a 4, so clearly, obviously, Enough is settling higher than Goldmember for you.
Yeah, I
I
mean, look, when you really break it down, Enough is just, it's breaking boundaries and it's got something to say, okay? Which I think it has to go ahead of Austin Powers at that point.
You would think, but I digress.
Yeah, no, we can disagree. We can disagree. I'm also being a bit silly about Enough. It's
Oh, I know you are. I know when you're being silly. I can just feel you over there.
I just like soap operas, man. That's really what it comes
I
down
can
to.
tell you are. You're a very melodramatic man. I know where it comes from. That's another. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
I really don't
I
care.
I've found the cheat code, which is your apathy will let me to pick exactly what order the sixes go in.
It's true. You know me, he knows me so well.
So far, as everything's going according to plan.
He's like, I know. He's like, my knowledge of this man for 20 plus years has gifted me just enough to master manipulate this list into my favor.
Yeah. It's like, I dare you to tell me Goldmember is much better than enough.
I will dare, but also at the end of the day, he knows enough to know that I also just don't care. So that's fine. I could
No, I could go either way with it too. If you want to put enough below Goldmember, go for it. I mean, I'll
I,
know I don't agree, but
I
if there
can
has to be a singular list, I'm okay
I
with it.
I can sleep here. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other in the sixes. I'll let you sleep easy with your enough sitting at the top of the heap of the sixes right now because it makes no difference to me, Jimbo. So fine. Austin Powers and Goldmember will settle in the number 17 spot, just behind enough and just ahead of Star Wars Episode 1, A Phantom Menace. Now, obviously, we won't be having any guessing games this week because you've guessed it already. We will be diving into the 2002 psychological sci-fi thriller, Signs, our first M. Night
Yeah.
Shyamalan movie here on the list.
Yeah. This is
Yes,
what, the third one that he's made?
I think so. Yeah, because he did Unbreakable before
Yeah, it would
Signs.
have done Sixth Sense and
Sixth Sense,
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable. Yeah, so yeah, the third M. Night Shyamalan movie. First one showing up on the charts here for us. This will be an interesting one to dive into. I can't tell you the last time I watched Signs. It might honestly have been when I saw it in theaters.
I don't think I've seen the whole thing. I remember this was the first M. Night Shyamalan movie I was disappointed by, but the only thing I remember is the like silly looking videos of the aliens.
Oh,
Like the
like on the
aliens
like
look like
the camcorder footage.
yes, yeah. I remember
Yeah.
thinking the aliens looked super dumb in this movie,
Swing away, George. Swing
but
away.
I don't think I've ever seen the whole thing, so I'm excited.
Oh, interesting. All right, yeah. So this will be a good return for me and a good maybe first time viewing for you. So make sure to check back with us next week when we dive into the absolute classic that is Signs. Drop some comments down below. Let us know what you thought of Austin Powers and Goldmember. What's your favorite Austin Powers movie? Jim, another week, another recommendation. What do we got from you?
I have still mostly been watching Next Generation, so still nothing
So we're
new to
still
report.
Still nothing new. Yeah, we don't have anything big. I don't have any good movie recommendations because everything on Netflix is shit. And I'm still watching Buffy, so I guess yeah, we'll just continue it. Watch Star Trek and watch Buffy, and that's all we got for you guys right now.
Yeah, just watch television back when television used to
It
be
was
really good.
yeah, just watch the heyday of television that was
Yeah.
90s television. So you go and do that, people. We'll be waiting here to hear from you while you go do it. But we'll see you next week when we dive into Signs. And as always, until next time, we'll see you at the movies.